Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Shri Shailabhijanambura Shishram Sri Krishna Tatatmajam Sri Shailanve Devanatha Sudhya Praptagaman Tadvayam Padabje Narsimhatate Guroho Nyastatma Raksha Bharam Vidvadvrinda Chakora Chandinamaham Ramanujaryam Shri Sriranga Sudha Madhu Samaswadayantam Sriranga Mahishi Padapankajatmajam Sulabhashrayam Sadamoda Siddhamadbhutam Bhajeham Gurum Tam Ranganatha Priyam Sukhasanastham Hridayabja Pite Chinmudraya Lankrita Pani Padmam Shubho Pavitam Vimalodhva Pundram Namami Rangam Gurum Antarenge Namami Yoga Samrajnim Vijayam Vijayapradam Srirangardha Sanasinam Karunamataram Guru Rupa Paranjyotihi Jyoti Rupa Guru Paraha Ajnana Mandiram Hyetat Guru Vijnana Mandiram Mukhaṁ Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Yontah Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuptam Sanjeevayatyakila Shaktidhara Swadhamna Anyam Shastacharana Shravanatvagadine Pranam Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Jayatya Santrasa Dhvanta Vidvam Sanodayaha Prabhavan Sitaya Devya Paramavyoma Bhaskaraha Sakrideva Prapannaya Tavasmiti Chayachate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyaha Dadamyetat Pratam Mama Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanarayuta Mukhyam Sri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami. With salutations to our Guru and the Guru of all Gurus, we'll commence our session today. Yes, please give me 1 minute. So we missed the last couple of sessions. Apologies for that. In the last session, we concluded Kishkinda Kandam, last chapter, if I am not wrong, where we have seen how Lord Hanuman realized his true nature and true potential, and he demonstrated his abilities. Not only that, what he also did was to publicly announce his abilities, extraordinary abilities, in a sense that those who are ignorant should really know about a great person only from the horse's mouth. இப்போ நிறைய பேர் ஒரு பெரிய மகான் இருக்கார் அப்படின்னாக்கா அவரை பற்றி நம்மளுக்கு தெரியாத இருக்கிறதுக்கு நிறைய சான்ஸ் இருக்கு. Unless and until the Mahan himself opens up and says, here is who I am. In the context of Kishkinda Kandam, it was Jambavan who truly Suryanuku touch போட்ட மாதிரி he basically showed who Hanuman is to Hanuman himself first. Then all the colleagues, நிறைய வானரங்கள் இருக்கு இல்லையா, the meaning of வானரம் தெரியும் நம்மளுக்கு. Basically we keep jumping from place to place and ஒரு ஸ்திரமான புத்தி இருக்காது. And it is important for them to know who Hanuman himself is, and he is happily proclaiming who he is. அதை நிறைய பார்த்துட்டோம். இந்த மாதிரி he is equal in power and capability to Marut and Garuda. அதை நிறைய தடவை சொல்லியிருக்கார். என்னுடைய அப்பா வாயு பகவான், அவருடைய சக்தி எனக்கு இருக்கு, அவருக்கு எவ்வளவு சக்தி இருக்கோ அவ்வளவே சக்தி எனக்கும் இருக்கு. At the same time, I can fly as high as I want, like Garuda is another thing he keeps mentioning. And towards the end of Kishkinda Kandam, what happens is அந்த மகேந்திர பர்வதம் அப்படின்னு இருக்கு. அந்த மகேந்திர பர்வதத்தை அது கீழேந்து ஜம்ப் பண்ணாதுக்கு he ascends to the peak of the mountain and using his the rockets எல்லாம் thrusters அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். The engine is basically fired. ங்கிற மாதிரி he stamps his foot on the Mahendra Parvatam. And what chaos that caused to the plants, trees, as well as the animals, birds that existed there. And a set of people known as Kinnaras who were there in that mountain, Vidyadharas அப்படின்னு பார்த்தோம். So they were all essentially having a happy time. And அவளுடைய இதுவும் அஸ்தவியஸ்தமாச்சு. And lastly, we saw even the rishis who were there in the Mahendra Parvatam, their own routine was a bit upset because of the earth-shaking thing that happened there, truly speaking. And then now he is ready to essentially fulfill or start to fulfill the vision and mission. And Sundarakandam starts from there, right? So we are at a stage where we have seen the glory of all the major characters, including Lord Ramachandra, Sita Mata, then Hanuman himself in various forms. And we went into Kishkinda Kandam last chapter primarily to look at what Hanuman is saying about himself. இதெல்லாம் எதுக்காக சொன்னோம் அப்படின்னாக்கா, going back to the roots, it's important to know the significance of the Kavi, Adi Kavi, Valmiki, Narada Maharshi, and what was their original intent, and how an Avatara Purusha and his entire retinue of people is interwoven in this fantastic magnum opus called Srimad Ramayanam, of which Sundarakandam is a very important, like the crest jewel of Srimad Ramayanam. Before we start Sundarakandam, the last step that is left over, okay, is to know what is Sundarakandam at a very high level, and why is it called Sundarakandam, okay? And this is primarily based on all the Purvacharyas and how they have enjoyed Srimad Ramayanam. So many of us, Sundarakandam அப்படின்னு சொன்னாக்கா, we all relate it to the fact that we have to chant it. அது ஒரு பாராயணம் அப்படின்னு ஒரு கிரமம் இருக்கு. There are certain times when you can chant them. And at the same time, there is a kramam, in how many days you have to complete, etc. And that comes basically through your own parampara. The best person to ask could be your parents or your Kulaguru, whoever it is. They will clarify you as to how you should do the Parayanam. Okay, I am not the best person to answer any questions on that behalf. However, what we'll take up today is the beauty of Sundarakandam as to why it is called Sundarakandam. So very briefly, most of us are aware of the story of Sundarakandam, but remembering the great Hanuman himself and our Purvacharyas, we'll quickly look at what are the key events that happened in Sundarakandam, right? So as we all know, Hanuman starts his journey from Mahendragiri, and then his intent is to, of course, look and search for Srimate, that is Sita Mate. And as he flies high up in the air, he encounters many different types of obstacles. And the obstacles are essentially in the form of Rakshasis, who try to stop him from advancing into the coast of Lanka. The obstacle also comes in the form of comforts. One of the mountains, it shows up on the Samudram and says, "Oh Hanuman, you must be tired, take rest here." So there are lots of day-to-day lessons to look at in Sundara Kandam. Anyway, so he crosses all these obstacles and eventually lands on the coast of Lanka. And it is Lanka until the Yuddha Kandam is completed. That is when it becomes Sri Lanka. But of course, Sita Mata herself, when she landed there, it becomes Sri Lanka. Sri gets associated with Lanka. So when Hanuman lands there, the first Rakshasi he encounters is the person who is guarding Sri Lanka. He wins over her, seeks her blessings as well, and eventually he uses his own intellect, his own sense of figuring out where things are. So he keeps moving from place to place in different forms. So sometimes he is a Siddha Purusha, right? So Anima, Garima, etc. So he becomes small in size, goes to some places, then he becomes huge in size, and then he looks at different things there. Eventually he arrives at Ashokavatika or Ashokavanam. And that is where he of course, before that, he visits the various palaces of Ravana. And he tries to use the principle of Neti. Neti in Kelipattukalya, Vedantatla. Na iti. This is not that. Idu Brahman illai. Idu Brahman illai. You keep negating, and finally you say, this is Brahman. Koru Netile irundirappadadu. அது மாதிரி இங்க நேத்தின்னு சொல்லிட்டு basically he rules out the different queens of Ravana using his own logic, and finally he arrives at Ashokavanam where he meets Sita Mate, and then there is a beautiful play of the mind that happens there, and he ends up narrating the entire story of Srimad Ramayanam until that point of time, meaning until he lands in Lanka, to Sita Mate, so that he gains her trust and so on. And Pirati, she also tests him, right? One of the key things to note is that nothing can be deemed as authentic until we verify, validate, and test things rigorously. And the Madri Piratiyum, she kind of verifies whether Hanuman is really a Ramaduta or somebody else. So there's some beautiful instances. We'll go through that in great detail, right? And eventually there is a transaction that happens, and that is the what should I say, the most critical part of Sundara Kandam, which is handover of the cryptographic keys. Ramar கொடுத்திருப்பார் மோதிரத்தை, அதை அவளுக்கு பிரதானம் பண்ணுவார். So symbolically, Sundara Kandam முழுசா வாசிக்காட்டாலும் the sargam where this happens, the handover of the மோதிரம், that is supposed to be really significant. அதையாவது அதில் இருக்கிற ஒரு சில ஸ்லோகங்களையாவது வாசிச்சோம்னா நம்மளுக்கு நல்லது உண்டாகும். So basically, after that, Sita Mate is convinced. Of course, Hanuman says that you just sit on my shoulders. I will take you back to Mahendragiri, where Ramachandra is and so on. And she declines. She refuses to come. There are lots of interesting things we can study there. And then he starts the Dhvamsam. Yeah, Azhaga irundha Ashokavanatha. He starts to demolish not just the Vanam, but the various palaces. And this is just to seek the attention of Ravana, who by his very nature, he is full of ego, ahankaram, and somebody has landed, right, by crossing all the various barriers he had set up. So that shocks him, literally. So that's the other important thing in Sundara Kandam. Anjaneya was so bold that he entered right into the most well-guarded fortress, and he shakes the confidence of the enemies, which is why he is adorable. அவரை ப்ரே பண்ணோம்னா நம்மளுடைய சத்ருக்கள் யாரெல்லாம் நம்மளுடைய சத்ருக்கள், டோர் நம்பர் 25, 26 அப்படி கிடையாது. நம்மளுடைய அந்த சத்ருக்கள் நிறைய பேர் இருக்கா. காமக்ரோத லோப மோக மத மத்சரம். They will all get shattered if we pray to Lord Hanuman, right? And then eventually he conveys the message as a Duta, Rama Duta, right? And there are some very interesting scenes that happen there, where Vibhishana, for the first time, we encounter him as a character. And, he was supposed to be killed by Ravana, but Vibhishana intervenes, and the famous, setting the tail on fire, that event happens. There are again some very nice things that we can learn there. Okay. After that, he sets the entire Lanka on fire. And of course, during the process of, observing Sita Mata with all the Rakshasis, we will also encounter one of the good Rakshasis, which is Trijata. And there are some interesting encounters there as well. So finally, Hanuman re-enters Mahendragiri with the one-liner saying Drishta Sita, right? So this is the at a very, very high level. Sundarakandam mudinjithu, tata bye bye solittu poidalam. But why did I narrate this? Why did I narrate this? The reason is that Sundarakandam is a Sankshipta Ramayanam in its own stance. Okay. And it's important to know why it is called Sundarakandam. And then we will look at the first sarga of Sundarakandam after we complete the why part of Sundarakandam. Okay. So these events are narrated, and the reason I narrated is there are at least 12 different interpretations for Sundarakandam. So please be patient. Okay. So we'll go through all of them. And I hope I'll be able to conclude this in this and the next class, if at all it extends. Okay. Is that acceptable, or you want me to jump into Sundarakandam straight away?
No. Take your time, please.
Okay. Narayana. So the very first definition of Sundaram, okay? Nashta dravyasya labho hi sundara parikirtitaha. Sundaram means that you have lost something and you are regaining it. So when you regain something which you have lost, that is known as Sundaram. Yeah. So starting from Gandhiji's pencil that he lost, and he got back to the day-to-day things that we keep searching, we misplace it, and then we think of Sudarshana, and then the material automatically appears somewhere. So the moment the item that you have lost reappears in front of you, there is a smile on your face. It brings happiness to you. When we can say that this is true of physical objects that we lose, the biggest thing that was lost here is Sita Mata for Ramachandra Murthy, isn't it? So she was lost, and everybody was in a mind frame of extreme depression, desolation, depression. And through Lord Hanuman, they first not only get to know Sita Mata is there, she's alive and kicking. At the same time, they get complete description of the state she is in and the state that Lanka is in and what needs to be done to bring her back, right? So the entire picture is very clear. So it actually helps. So it's not that if we want to item search pannona, where do we go? We go to Google, isn't it? And a link, that link will take you to 10 other links. And finally, you'll get lost. You'll start looking for some cooking item. Eventually, you'll end up booking a ticket to somewhere, right? That's what happens. The main goal is lost. But it is not the case here, where the goal keeps tying Hanuman back to the purpose, ties all the Vanaras back to the purpose, right? And it just does not end with saying, oh, Sita Mata is there in this particular location. This is the GPS. Anjaneya gives a complete overlay of Lanka. This is the road map. This is where there is a good person called Vibhishana, etc., etc. So it's in that sense, Nashtadravya Salabho hi Sundara Parikirtitaha. So there is this important aspect of bringing back Sita Mata, and mentally everybody will become very, very happy at the end of Sundara Kandam, right? So that's one of the main reasons why this is called as Sundara Kandam. Of course, in our Sanatana Dharmam, we say Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. There's a reason why these three happen in a sequence. அது நம்ம குருக்கள் தான் கேட்டு கத்துக்கணும். Satyam is a very detailed topic to be explained, but very, very briefly, the aspect of Satyam is a complete chapter in many Upanishads. What is Satyam? But of course, it relates to the Supreme Brahman itself. But Satyam has three words, Sat, Ti, Yam. And what that means is Sat is Sadvastu, Brahmavastu is Sat. And Ti means bridging. Okay? Tina bridging எப்படி ஆச்சுன்னு எனக்கு கேட்காதுங்க. சம்ஸ்கிருத வியாக்கரணத்துல அது அப்படிதான் சொல்லுவோம். And Yam is that. So that which bridges us with the supreme truth is known as Satyam. And it has boiled down to the aspect of speaking truth. Poi sollapradhu, adhaan Satyam nu solrom illaya. But this is the complete inner meaning of Satyam. So anything that bridges us with the ultimate truth, it can come in whatever form, it can come in whatever word, right? It can be a person, it can be a thing. Anything that helps us connect with the Supreme Being is known as Satyam. And the second word is Shivam. Shivam is Mangalam. We are going to see that is also one of the meanings of Sundaram. And last is Sundaram. So in Sundarakandam, can we say Satyam is happening or Satyam exists? Isn't it? Who is the bridge there? Lord Hanuman. Sat is both Srimate and Lord Ramachandra. They are both Satyavastu. And he is bridging the two together. And when the Paramapurusha and Paramaprakriti, they are bridged, then what is the outcome is Shivam or Mangalam. Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu, Mangalam Madhusudanaha. So that is a natural outcome of Satyam. And when Satyam and Shivam exist, obviously it will be ಕಣ್ಣುಗಳಿಗೆ ಹಬ್ಬವಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ ಅಡಿನ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ சொல்லுவா. It will look like a festival for our eyes. It's a feast for our eyes. It's a feast for our ears, for all our indriyas, and eventually to the Jivatman also. So that eventually becomes Sundaram. And Sundara Kandam is an awesome sarga, awesome, chapter, set of sargas in Srimad Ramayanam, a Kandam, where we see Satyam as well as Shivam. Therefore, it better be called as Sundara Kandam. The second meaning, Sundaraha, is as somebody sent a message, right? Sundara is the name of Lord Hanuman. That's the pet name, is Anjani Putraha, isn't it? So his mother used to, Anjana Devi, she used to call him as Sundara. And Sundara means somebody who is handsome, right? Beautiful or handsome. So I was trying to dig which Acharya has spoken about Lord Hanuman as a handsome person. Okay. So the first thing I could lay my hands on is none other than Adi Shankara. In his Hanumat Pancharatna Stotram, I'll just read this out. Taruna Runa Mukha Kamalam Karuna Rasapura Purita Pangam Sanjeevana Mashase Manjula Mahimana Manjana Bhagyam. It basically says that I think of Hanuman, Taruna Arunam. Arunamna sun, Tarunamna young sun. That is, when you see the sun rising, the hue of color that you see, that is the Mukha Kamalam of Lord Hanuman. And Karuna Rasapura Purita Pangam, his face is completely full of compassion for all beings, right? So there is no other way to describe this than Brahmagyani himself. Yeah, he probably saw Hanuman, realized him, and then spoke to him in this manner. And Sundara is the pet name of Hanuman. And in this chapter, he is the hero. Lord Hanuman is the hero of Sundara Kandam. Therefore, we call this as Sundara Kandam. Then the third reason, the other meaning of Sundaram is Su Unnati iti Sundaraha. Iti Sundaram. நன்றாக உன்னத்தி அப்படின்னாக்கா அதுக்கு ஒரு மீனிங் இருக்கு. உந்தி கிளேதனே, இதெல்லாம் வியாக்கரணம் சம்ஸ்கிருதத்துல. உந்தி கிளேதனே அப்படின்னாக்கா that which makes our minds really wet with tears அப்படின்னு சொல்லலாம். நம்மள ரொம்ப உருக்க செய்யறது. That is the meaning of Su Unnati. That means when I narrated Sundara Kandam, one of the things that is spoken about in great detail is the despair, desolation, and the state that Sita Mata was in, right? She actually weeps and cries. In many of the slokams, we will go through that. So when we go through that, we ourselves get into that kind of a feeling, isn't it? So நம்மள ரொம்ப உருக்க செய்யக்கூடிய ஒரு காண்டமா இருக்கிறதுனால இதுக்கு சுந்தர காண்டம்னு பேரு. That which makes us cry and feel, empathize with Sita Mata. So that's it is covered in many sargas in Sundara Kandam. So therefore, that being the core of Sundara Kandam, some people say this is known as Sundara Kandam. Then fourth one is it brought this whole episode that happens, what I described, it brought a great amount of relief to all the characters in Srimad Ramayanam, right? Starting with Sita Mata herself, she got a great sense of hope that yes, Lord Rama will come and he will take me away, right? all the way up to the entire retinue of Vanaras, Lord Rama, and Hanuman himself, isn't it? So they all got a great sense of relief. And ஒரு பெருமூச்சு விட்டார்கள். They had a big sense of consolation because of Lord Hanuman finding Sita Mata. Therefore, this is known as Sundara Kandam, that which gives us a sense of relief, Sundaram. That is the fourth meaning. Okay. The fifth one is Sundaram has another meaning known as Mangalam, that which is Mangalam. Shivam sonna illaya. And Mangalam refers to Mangala Devi, which is Sita Devi, right? And this Sundara Kandam is full of how even the Mangala Devatai had to go through a lot of torments, torture, physical torture also, mental torture, right? Nobody, in fact, there is I hope there is nobody named Sita here. Normally, you don't name somebody as Sita in our Sampradayam. You know, it's an unfortunate thing. But the main reason is that she went through so many tortures and struggles. So you don't want your daughter to go through all that. But Sita, as the name indicates, is somebody who is really pure. Okay. If you were to look at her real state, we should be naming somebody as Sita. But normally we don't. And the reason is that she has gone through so many tortures in her life. So the Mangala Devi, she goes through so many torments, and she is also in some sense the key character for Sundara Kandam. So you can, some people call Sundara Kandam as Mangala Kandam also. Okay, for the reason that she is equally the heroine of Sundara Kandam. So that's the fifth reason. Yeah, note பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா? So the first one is Nashtadravyaha. Second is Sundara being Hanuman's name. Third is Su Unnati iti Sundaraha. நம்மளை உருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு காண்டம். Then that which gives a sense of relief. And the fifth one is Mangala Devatai. So she is Sundaram means Mangalam. The sixth one, the other person, the moment you talk of Mangala Devi, who is her husband, Udbhava Sundara Sundo Ratnanabha Sulochanaha in Vishnu Sahasranamam. Sundaraha is also the name of Lord Rama himself, Lord Sri Mahavishnu. And in Sundara Kandam, although in Balakandam we saw how Narada Maharshi describes the beauty, physical beauty of Rama, in Sundara Kandam you find it in even more detail. And this time it is described by Hanuman himself. Okay, so the beauty of Lord Ramachandra, who is Sundara, is spoken about in Sundara Kandam. So although the main characters are Hanuman and Sita in Sundara Kandam, Lord Rama, doesn't, he conspicuously appears. And the way he appears is somebody describing his beauty. He is not there in Sundara Kandam, but he is also there. Abindra angle, Sundaraha is also the name of Mahavishnu, and his beauty is described in detail in Sundara Kandam. And the purpose of reading or doing a Parayanam of Srimad Ramayanam, right? That's the reason why I gave all these foundation lectures, is for us to bridge with the Supreme Being. Yeah. And one of the ways you bridge is, aha, இப்பேற்பட்ட ஆஜானுபாகுவா இருக்காரே அவர், இப்பேற்பட்ட அரவிந்த தளாய தாக்ஷணா இருக்காரே. The moment we start relishing our mind through bhakti on the divine form of the Lord, automatically you get into a state of meditation. Therefore, it aids sadhana. And Sundaraha is Lord Ramachandra himself. That is the sixth reason why this is called as Sundarakanda. The seventh one, we are delaying the actual definition of Sundaram, is Alagu. is that which is beautiful. And what is beautiful in Sundara Kandam, we now step back and step into the shoes of Adikavi himself. Okay. So in this Sundara Kandam, his flow of words, his choice of words, the way he has composed the Kavyam, especially in Sundara Kandam, if you are a MA in Sahitya, okay, Sahityam na theriyuma, there is an MA in Sahitya, MA not Kannada MA, MA means Buffalo in Kannada. MA is Master of Arts in Sahityam, which is essentially poetry and so on. Then you will relish Sundara Kandam more than other chapters, for the simple reason that there is a beauty that Valmiki has embellished with in Sundara Kandam, and also the sequence of things that he narrates. Many times you think, is this Hanuman thinking or Valmiki writing? So you get into those types of philosophical discussions and questions. Therefore, அழகாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு காண்டம், அதனால இதுக்கு சுந்தர காண்டம் அப்படின்னு பேர். From Valmiki's perspective, இப்போ எப்படி வியாச பகவான் he divided the Vedas and then he created Srimad Mahabharatam, எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு கடைசியில what was his samambonam, what is the Srimad Bhagavatam? Until he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, his mind did not calm down. So that's the most beautiful composition. Every poet will have a great composition. Take Vedanta Deshika, take Adi Shankara. So among all their compositions, number rasikaradu onnu irukum, but what they like will be different. So in that sense, this is Sundara Kandam, 7th. 8th, Sundaram also has a meaning of Sreshtham. That which is Sreshtham is Sundaram. That which is the highest ranking thing. Okay. Miga uyarndadu. Chana pedda oka vishayam. Emitante adi Sundaram. Veda vedya pare pumsi jate dasharathatmaje veda pracheta sadasit Sakshad Ramayanatmanam. This is one of the slokams that glorifies Srimad Ramayanam. That is, if you cannot chant the Vedas, it is enough if you can do a Parayanam of Srimad Ramayanam or listen to Ramayanam. Okay, in case Sanskrit becomes a difficult subject, isn't it? And why? Because Veda Vedya Pare Pumsi, the Supreme Being who is extolled by all the Vedas, Pare Pumsi, he was born, Jate Dasharathatmaje, he was born as the son of Dasharatha. And it is his glory and her glory that flows through entire Srimad Ramayanam. Vedaha Pracheta Sadasite Sakshad Ramayanatmana. We have seen how Vedas themselves reappeared through Prachetas, which is Valmiki Maharishi, in the form of Sakshat Ramayanam. And if that is the case, what is the connection with Srimad Ramayanam? Means the sum and substance of all Vedas is the Gayatri Mantra. And you will find one of the most important sacred mantras embedded in Sundara Kandam. Okay. And there is a tradition that we should not describe the name of the form of the mantra unless you are a guru and you have a Sishya and there is a bondage between these two. Okay. We are not supposed to reveal the actual, of course, today if you Google, all mantras are available. Google is our global Acharya. Yeah. But ideally, we are not supposed to reveal the mantram. Anybody, Gurum Prakashayet Dhimane, Mantram Yatnena Gopayete, Aprakasha Prakashapyam, Kshiyate Sampadayushi. This is a famous Subhashitam. or slokam which says Gurum Prakashayet Dhiman. If you are a true intellect, then you should strive hard to bring the glory of your Guru. That means you should not keep quiet. என்னுடைய ஆச்சாரியன் இப்பேற்பட்டவர் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ப்ரோ பீட் பண்ணி அடுத்த வாழையும் அடிச்சு போட்டுருந்தோம் இல்லையா? அப்படி கிடையாது. குரும் பிரகாஷே தீமான்னா ఆచార్యன் எப்படி இருந்தாரో அவருடைய శీలం ఆయన గుణాలు ఎలా ఉన్నాయో ఆ గుణముల్ని ప్రకాశం చేయాలి. ఆ గుణము ప్రకాశం చేయడంతో మన చిత్తము శుద్ధి అవుతుంది. The reason why we should glorify our Acharyan is that we acquire the gunas of our Acharyan. And when there is an opportunity, then you should not step back, is what this says. Gurum prakashayet dhiman mantram yatnena gopayet. At the same time, when it comes to mantra, you should take all precautions to keep it secret. Okay? Especially keep it in a folder, cryptographically encrypt it, so that even you don't know the password. Mantram yatnena gopayet. You should keep it as secret as your own soul. It is a relation between yourself and the Supreme Being and your Guru who has initiated you into that mantram. Aprakasha prakashabhyam. If you were to do the opposite of the above two, which means where you have to stand up and speak about your Guru, you are silent. Right? On the other hand, you instruct anybody and everybody without looking at the patram, a mantram. Right? You are doing the opposite of these two. Then what is the impact? Kshiyate sampadayushi. Your sampat, your wealth that you have acquired, that will diminish. At the same time, your ayush also will diminish. So these are the two ill effects of doing the opposites of the first line. சரியா? அதனால எதுக்காக சொல்ல வந்தேன் அப்படின்னாக்கா, the mantras are typically part of Vedas themselves. Okay, if you look at Ashtakshara mantram, Sriman Narayana mantram, in Mahanarayana Upanishad, you will find the mantram itself. Okay, or if you look at Rudram, you will find the Panchakshari mantram embedded there explicitly. And Vedas come through parampara and in a Guru Sishya tradition where there is no need for, in those days, of course, making it public and so on. However, very, very rarely the mantra finds a place in Puranas, Itihasas and Smritis for this very reason. That is, mantram yatnena gopayet. So the rishis, the Adi Kavis, the great Kavis like Kalidasa who came later, including Vedanta Deshikar, etc., they all respected this tradition and none of them made mantras as part of their works. Okay? So therefore, how can you then say that Veda Prachetasa Sakshat Ramayanatmana? So if you were to take Srimad Ramayanam as our Acharyan, it actually enlightens us on the Saram of Vedas. And in this context, within Sundara Kandam, there is a specific shlokam, which again, many of you may be aware, many of you may be reciting. That is the Rama Taraka Mantram explained in its full glory without telling the mantram. Namostu Ramaya Salakshmanaya Deve Chatasye Janakatmajayai Namostu Rudrendra Yamanilebhyaha Namostu Chandrarka Marudganebhyaha. This shlokam comes within Sundara Kandam, is spoken by Hanuman himself. Okay. And the first line of this shlokam is essentially talking about Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. And many acharyas have given great commentaries on this line. Essentially, it relates the Jiva Tattvam with Parabrahma Tattvam through an acharyan and the way that we should, perform surrender. And this is a Ramataraka Mantram's explanation. And this slokam appears in Sundara Kandam. And Sundara Kandam appears in Srimad Ramayanam, which is the Veda Saram, which is Sundara. Punida. So that's the line of thought. Therefore, the eighth meaning, why this is called as Sundara Kandam. One of the great Gayatri mantrams is Ramataraka Mantram. And its meaning is explained in Sundara Kandam. இன்னொரு 5 நிமிஷம் இருக்குமா இதை முடிச்சிடலாம் இல்லைன்னா அடுத்த கிளாஸுக்கு போயிடும் Can we continue or you are hard pressed on time?
Yeah, we can continue.
The next one, of course, it is not in my control also now. Sundaram means Utkrishtam, உயர்ந்தது, that which is really great. And this is essentially from the dimension of sadhana, spiritual sadhana. There are many different margas, we all know, isn't it? Karma yogam, bhakti yogam, jnana yogam, etc., etc. And there is something known as prapatti also, right? And prapatti is basically sharanagati, or surrender to the Supreme Being, as one of the margams. And Srimad Ramayanam is considered as a Sharanagati Shastram by many acharyas. Okay. And if you were to look at how Sharanagati is depicted in Srimad Ramayanam, it appears in many different sargas. Okay. And of course, I presume that many of you are familiar with Sharanagati, otherwise it becomes a topic of its own. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishwasaha goptritva varanam, isn't it? And karpanyam. These are the 5 aspects you call as Ayyangar, Aindangangal abin solluva. These 5 aspects are an integral part of Prapatti or Sharanagati. And if you were to look at this in great detail, it will eventually turn out to be not different from Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Okay, it is only sugar coated in a different form. Anukulyasya sankalpaha. You have to ensure that you lead a life which helps you to bridge yourself with the Supreme Being. எதெல்லாம் அனுகூலமா இருக்கோ அதெல்லாத்தையும் நம்ம சரி பண்ணிக்கலாம். We should embrace them. That which helps us get closer to the Supreme Being, embrace those things. And satyam vadhaன்னு சொல்லப்படாது. சத்தியத்தை கொன்னா மாதிரி ஆயிடும். சத்தியம் வத, தர்மம் சர, ஸ்வாத்யாய அன்மா பிரமதஹ எல்லாம் சொல்லியிருக்கு இல்லையா? They are all meant for listening when you are free. So those are the anukulyasya sankalpam. Second is pratikulyasya varjanam, that which takes us away from the Supreme Being. We should ensure that we don't go near them. We should ensure that we are always in satsangam. We should not go into dussangam. Ketta pazhakkangal irukapadaadu. That which helps us get closer to kama, krodha, lobha, the arishad vargamulu. Those should be, they are all varjaniyam. Pratikulyasya varjanam. The third important thing is rakshishyatiti vishwasaha. The great supreme Mahavishwasam, that it is a Supreme Lord alone who is going to redeem me, nobody else. So having that fundamental faith, unshakable faith in the Divine Lord, is a core component of Prapatti. That is, that in some sense will take care of others also. Anukulya sankalpam pratikulyas varjanam. If you have this rakshishyatiti vishwasa, that is not just ordinary belief kadayadade. It is a conviction. It is a supreme faith in the Divine Lord. That is known as Mahavishwasam. Then Karpanyam, that is, I cannot protect myself. I have no Shakti to understand the various different margas that exist. This is the only marga I know. And I cannot protect myself without this margam. and Goptritva Varanam. That is, our entire protection, we leave it at the Lord's holy feet. இதெல்லாம் இருந்ததுன்னா பிரபத்தி அப்படிங்கிறது சரணாகதிங்கிறது வரும். And throughout Srimad Ramayanam, you will see the sprinkling of prapatti. எப்படி அப்படின்னாக்கா பாலகாண்டத்துல all the devas perform sharanagati to the Lord, that you be born, okay, in the Bhulokam to destroy Ravana. There is a Trishanku Sharanagati that appears in Balakandam. Then in Ayodhya Kandam, there is a Sharanagati that happens between the brothers. So Lakshmana does Sharanagati to Rama. Bharata also famously does the Padukai, and that associated Sharanagati is described in Ayodhya Kandam. Then in Aranya Kandam, the Munis, they do a Sharanagati to Ramachandra in Aranya Kandam, the great rishis, okay, that happens in Aranya Kandam. And then in Kishkinda Kandam, we don't need to say, Sugriva himself performs Sharanagati to Lord Ramachandra. Then in Sundara Kandam, who is the person who is doing Sharanagati is Trijata. Okay. Trijata is the person who performs Sharanagati in Sundara Kandam. And of course, in Ayodhya Kandam, the famous Vibhishana Sharanagati, which actually forms as a slokam that I recite at the beginning of the Sakradeva Prapannaya Tavasmita Chayachate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyaha Dadamyetad Vratam Mama, as Lord Ramachandra tells Vibhishana. That's a Vibhishana Sharanagati. So Sri Valmiki Ramayanam is a Sharanagati Shastram, which is the highest form of yogas that you can perform. That is Sundaram. Utkrishtam tat Sundaram. Utkrishtam atra sadhana margam yat tadeva utkrishtam. And among all the chapters that talk of Sharanagati, the Trijata Sharanagati that happens in Sundara Kandam, it takes a very special place, because it is a Sharanagati done in mother's party, not the father's party. It is done by Trijata to Sita Mata herself. And she goes one step beyond the Lord to show how compassionate she is, right? And specifically, this happens when Hanuman tells Sita Mata that, look, you are going through all these tortures. I'll kill all these Rakshasis. Tell me right now, give me instruction. She says no, right? And the reason she says is, Trijata, she actually, requests Sita Mata that please don't harm me or my colleagues, okay? We are part of your party, okay? And she immediately, without even looking at the torture she underwent, right, by just looking at Trijata, because she is one of the noble Rakshasis, Sita Mata obliges and she protects, which is the form of Sharanagati, isn't it? If you surrender to somebody, that person should not run away. Yeah. ஐயா என்னை காப்பாத்தன் கால் பிடிச்சா அவரே எஸ்கேப் போயிட்டாருன்னா அது நம்மளுக்கு சரிப்பட்டு வராது இல்லையா? You should stand and take care of you. That is the importance of Sharanagati. Ipdi, that is the 9th reason why this is called Sundara Kandam. The 10th is Sundaram. Extend romba. This one refers to again it being a beautiful sargam where the arrogance of Ravana, right, it is basically powdered, okay, churni kritam, and symbolically relating this to Sankalpa Suryodayam, that is a famous natakam of Vedanta Deshika, where he talks about Ravana is Dashagriva, and that represents the 10 Indriyas that torment the Jivatman. So he is relating to Sita Mata. She is essentially in a jail, that is our body. Okay. And the Jivatma is suffering. It has lost contact with the Supreme Being. And Lord Hanuman comes as an Acharyan to redeem the Jiva. It shows who the Paramatman is and what is the way to the Paramatman. I'll talk about this in detail through a sloka in Sankalpa Suryodayam of Vedanta Deshika in the next class. But this is one of the other reasons why this is known as Sundara Kandam. This concept is elicited in great detail. The 11th reason why this is called as Sundara Kandam is for the fact that many people say if you chant Sundara Kandam, it is as good as chanting Srimad Ramayanam. What is the reason? In one of the chapters, we told you Hanuman relates all the things that happened, right from Rama's birth all the way up to him meeting Sri Ramachandra and him flying down till Lanka. Then Sita Mata narrates what all happened in Lanka. Okay, so there is past, there is present, but future, என்ன ஆக போறது அப்படிங்கிறது இருக்கா அப்படின்னாக்கா, yes, there is a place where what is the future? Lord Rama will vanquish Ravana and then he will fly back to Ayodhya, isn't it? In the Pushpaka Vimanam. That concludes Srimad Ramayanam. But as Sundara Kandathila இல்லையே அப்படின்னா கேர்ஃபுல்லா பார்த்தா இருக்கு. Trijata, she narrates a beautiful dream that she gets, in which she sees, I am seeing Lanka getting destroyed and you and Rama are, catching a flight back to Ayodhya. Okay. So this is something she narrates. Therefore, all aspects, past, present, and future are covered in Sundara Kandam. That's the reason why a Parayanam of Sundara Kandam is enough. I mean, of course, if you have time, you should, like Anantaram Dikshithar mari irundaka 24,000 ஸ்லோகம் படிக்கலாம். ஸ்ரீமத் ராமாயணம் ஃபுல்லாவும் பாராயணம் பண்ணணும், அவசியம் பண்ணியானும். இதுக்கப்புறமா அஃப்கோர்ஸ் தி 12th one is it talks about the fact that most acharyas have dwelled with Lord Rama and Sita's greatness through whatever is elicited in Sundara Kandam. They don't often refer to quotes from other sargas, but from Sundara Kandam. There is so much of Dharma Sukshmam that is embedded in Sundara Kandam. And that's the reason why it's one of the oft quoted and oft referenced chapters in Srimad Ramayana. So like this, there are 12 different reasons for why it is called as Sundara Kandam. Appada அப்படின்றதுல உட்டாரு அப்படின்னு ஒரு relief இருக்கு உங்களுக்கு. I can see that. So it is not just the beauty of Hanuman, but there is so much for us to grasp. Without a guru's jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam, right, with the true lens of jnanam, and when a guru opens our eyes, that is when we will know the truth. So like this, we will rely on Brahmapucham Pratishtha Tadapesha Shloko Bhavati, the trail or paramparai that started with the Supreme Being and ends with our Acharyas. So that is the authentic trail that we should latch on to. We will catch hold of that. And with this note, we hope, we can keep coming back to why it is called Sundarakanda. We will see all of this when we go through the 2,880 odd slokas in Sundarakandam, right? So you keep referring to this, that will be useful. That's the reason why we did all these foundational lectures. Okay. So with that, we'll conclude our session today. Sorry for extending it by 15 minutes. Narayana.
Guru Charanambuja Nirbhara Bhakta Guru Charanambuja Nirbhara Bhakta Samsara Chiratava Krishna Krishna Sendriya Marasa Yamadevam Rakshasi Nijahridayastam Devam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate
कायेन वाचा मनसा इन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि सर्वं श्रीरामचन्द्रार्पणमस्तु। जय हनुमान, जय श्री राम। Have a great day and a week ahead. Thank you.